gentlemen, to the She Knows Pro Football podcast. Once again, I'm Alice, a.k.a. the NFL Girl. And once again, I got my good friend Dominick here with me. Dominick, how you doing today?
I don't know. I can't say I'm doing too well, Alice. I mean, the Saints suck, the Eagles suck, and much like half the NFL right now, I'm playing injured. So let's do this and see what we can come up with this week. I did call the Jets victory last week, though, so that made me happy.
Hey, can't get them all right. Can't have good weeks every week. But I'm just glad I still have you here with me, Dominick. Well, you guys, week 4 was kind of a hodgepodge of everything. There was some surprising upset. Jets and Giants both got their first win, so good for New York for finally getting in the win column. But man, there were some crazy games all last week. I'm ready to see what's going to happen in week 5. I expect more of the same. Let's get it started. Starting with our Thursday matchup, we got the 3-1 Los Angeles Rams headed to Seattle to face the 2-2 Seahawks. Dominick, who you got?
Yes, it's a tough game for, both these. Obviously, this division is very difficult division. These two teams tend to play each other very tough. I would have picked Seattle easily, but just coming out today that Chris Carson may not be able to play in this game with a neck injury really is going to hurt them, make them even more one-dimensional. I know they have some great receivers there, but Jalen Ramsey can shut down one of them, and I think if Aaron Donald can get to Russell Wilson, he can do enough to affect the rest of the receivers. Los Angeles is coming off their worst game of the year by far, the ugly loss they had last week against the Cardinals, a game which you called that you thought Cardinals would win, and they did. I just think they're going to have a bounce back in this game. I think Seattle's going to be a little bit let down. We never know what to expect from Seattle. They're always up and down, up and down. Or I picked the Rams to beat them in the playoffs last year, and they did it. I'm going to pick them again to go into Seattle for a second time in a row and beat Seattle.
The Rams looked so bad in that game. I was surprised at how bad they looked in the game. Don't get me wrong, I appreciate that I knew that the Cardinals were going to win that. It's just the way they lost was just so horrendous. They didn't show up on either side of the ball the way that I thought that they would. Seattle, meanwhile, the potential loss of Chris Carson, and even if he does play, he's going to be playing hurt, is significant. They need to be able to have a run game in order for Russell Wilson to not end up one-dimensional and the Rams knowing to go after Tyler Lockett and shut him down. I like Seattle playing for the 12. I like them at home. I pick them all the time whenever they're at home. But I'm like you, Dominick. The Rams are coming in there. They are pissed off at the way they lost at home. They definitely are feeling like they need to make up for that loss. I'm going to have to take the Rams in this instance. I think they could get it done and definitely kept that win there. And then moving on to Sunday, we got the 1-3 New York Jets going to London, actually, to face the 1-3 Atlanta Falcons. Dominick, who you got?
Yeah, I don't know why, England always gets all these terrible games, but they're going to not want a London team after all these games go over there. Jacksonville's over there next week. It's just crazy. Atlanta should have won last week, and they just found another way to blow the game against Washington. It was crazy to see. Obviously, Cordero Patterson had a monster game last week. He could do the same thing this week against the Jets. That said, I do think that Atlanta's offense is much better than the Jets. The Jets are coming in off a high after beating the Titans last week, so I am actually going to take Atlanta to win their quote-unquote home game this week and beat the Jets.
Hey, kudos to the Jets for getting their first win of the season. I'm so happy for them that they finally in the win column. I see what I've been telling people is there is some potential for a good future there for Zach Wilson. And I'm hoping I see that next season. They're going against Atlanta. I just have more confidence in the Falcons and the weapons that he has there. We finally saw Cordell Patterson step up in a freaking game, which was phenomenal to see because Cordell Patterson is one of those players, like, he'll just have one of these amazing, like, once every season, he'll have this amazing game, and then, like, you won't really see a lot out of him the rest of the season. So he had that game already. I'm not sure that he won't have another one here in London, considering the way the Jets defense is playing. Don't get me wrong, Quentin Williams has been quite the player, especially last week, but he's all they have, really. And so I just have feelings that if Cordell Patterson gets behind him and takes off, he's going to be hard to stop. Definitely got to give this game to the Falcons. Next up, we got the 3-1 Green Bay Packers headed to Cincinnati to face the 3-1 Bengals. Dominick, who you got?
This is another tough one. Cincinnati seems to be playing a lot better this year, but it is the Bengals, so eventually they have to do something wrong. We don't know if Joe Mixon's going to play in this game. He did get injured in the last game. You can pretty much say that on repeat if you wanted to, but it looks like he may miss this game. If he does, that's going to make them extremely one-dimensional as well. Obviously, the Green Bay Packers defense has not been playing good, but Aaron Rodgers can, pretty much heal a lot of what ails you when it comes to his offense helping the defense get over what they need to. Cincinnati's defense does not scare me one bit, especially against Aaron Rodgers. This line should be a lot higher in my opinion, but it's very low, which makes you think that Las Vegas thinks it's going to be a very close game. I'm not so certain. I think Green Bay is going to win this game, and they'll probably win it by a little more than a field goal, some probably about a touchdown.
Listen, I had to read their record again because I wasn't sure that we're talking about the Bengals being 3-1, but they really are 3-1. They're a good team to watch. I love this connection that Joe Burrow has with Jamar Chase. He turned into just this phenomenal receiver there. They're a good team to watch. However, they're going against the Packers. And I understand the Bengals are playing at home, but this is the Packers. And again, as I said at the start of the season, Aaron Rodgers has something to play for. If he really wants to get out of Green Bay, the only way that's going to happen is he has to have a hell of a season. He's already had one game that went sideways for him. He's got to impress going forward. And he's going to do that this week against this Bengals defense. Bengals defense is not good. That's the nicest way and politest way I could say that. And with Aaron Rodgers, with what he has with Devontae Adams, what they have in that big backfield with Aaron Jones, my goodness, this team is so good, so solid. And the defense has been playing better. Definitely got to give this game to the Packers. Next up, we got the 0-4 Detroit Lions headed to Minnesota to face the 1-3 Vikings. Dominick, who you got?
Yeah, Minnesota played an ugly game last week against Cleveland. Yeah, we both thought it would be low scoring, and it was. It was only 14-7. A lot of that had to do with Dalvin Cook being injured. I think Dalvin Cook, he said he's going to play through his ankle injury no matter what. Going against Detroit, that's not something they want to hear. He's going to light them up. They still have Jamar Jefferson there. They still have, they obviously still have Adam Thielen there as well. I really like this Minnesota team at home, so I'm going to take them to beat Detroit.
Detroit Lions are so bad. They are so bad. They are so painful to watch. My goodness, this team is so bad. There's no way that I could take the Lions in this game because they don't have, for me personally, they don't have a redeeming quality. I thought I don't know why I thought the addition of Jared Goff there, not being in Los Angeles, not being under the heavy scrutiny of being in a top 10 market, I thought there was a possibility that would help Jared Goff. So far, as it stands, it has not. This team is still trash. Their defense is worse. The Vikings had a horrendous game. However, they are a better team than the Detroit Lions by far, which is sad to say. I have more faith in Kirk Cousins than I do in Jared Goff. I have more faith in what that running game could do there. Justin Jefferson and Adam Thielen, what they can do with Kirk Cousins is fun to watch. Definitely got to get this one to the Vikings. Next up, we got the Denver Broncos headed to Pittsburgh to face the 1-3 Steelers. Dominick, who you got?
Yeah, I'm going to keep this one pretty simple. I mean, Denver had some good games, but they were against very bad teams. They played one good team last week in Baltimore, and they lost because they couldn't hit that. As John Harbaugh said, there's no such thing as a 16-point play at the end of the game that they were throwing a touchdown for. Coming into Pittsburgh, though, I think Pittsburgh is going to be the second best team they played, even though Pittsburgh is trash this year. The defense is really good in Denver, but their offense is kind of lacking right now with all the injuries, including Teddy Bridgewater possibly not playing in this game. If Teddy Bridgewater plays, it would be a different story, but I don't think he's going to. And with that in mind, I'm going to take Pittsburgh to finally get off the snide at home.
Teddy Bridgewater not starting is very significant, unfortunately, for the Broncos. We saw last week what Drew Lock can do when he comes into a game, which is not much. It is painful to watch. I'm sad that we won't have him this week. They're headed to Pittsburgh to face the Steelers. As much as I would love for the Broncos to be able to pull off this upset there at Heinz Field, my expectations are low, considering the fact that it is Drew Lock as the starting QB. And I was not impressed with him last year. I was not impressed with him last week. I don't see them be able to get the ground game going, considering the way that Pittsburgh's ground defense has been. I got, as sad as and as hard as this is for me, I got to give it to the Steelers. I feel like Big Ben can get more done with Chase Claypool than Drew Lock will get done with Cortland Sutton there. Next up, we got the 1-3 Miami Dolphins headed to Tampa Bay to face the 3-1 Buccaneers. Dominic, who you got?
Dolphins are going to be without Will Fuller in this game. He's on IR now with a broken finger. They're still going to be without Tua in this game, which is going to have them starting with Jacoby Brissett. Who knows what they're going to throw out of the backfield. You know, they're going to have Myles Gaskins back there, but he really hasn't done anything this year. It's just been very tough to see. Their defense has been very good. Tampa Bay's defense has been very, very bad. They have the 31st ranked secondary right now. Going against this Miami wide receiver group, that won't matter, though, because they're not even going to be able to get out there. They still have one of the best run defenses in the league, and with all the weapons they have on offense, even without Gronk, because since he probably will miss this game, Tom Brady's still going to have, Antonio Brown there. He's still going to have Mike Evans, Chris Godwin. That's definitely enough to beat this Miami team that seems to be struggling right now. So I'm going to say Tom Brady's actually going to beat his former division rivals in this one.
I would like to pick an upset here and say that the Dolphins would win this game, but I'm not an idiot. It's still Jacoby Brissett starting there, and I don't have enough faith in Jacoby Brissett going against Tampa's. I'm going to make this short and sweet. I know that Brady and the Bucs struggled last week in New England, but that was facing Bill Belichick, who knows how to scheme against Brady because he had to coach Brady previously. That is not the case here in Miami. I know Brian Flores was there when Brady was in New England, but I don't believe that he has the same type of team, the same type of weapons, or the same level of coaching skills yet to be able to scheme against a player of Tom Brady's caliber. In particular, with the level of receivers he has there in Mike Evans and Chris Godwin. Regardless if Gronk can play or not, just those two alone, with Antonio Brown coming in as a slot every so often, definitely got to get this game to Tampa. Don't think it'll be close or interesting. Next up, we got the 2-2 New Orleans Saints headed to Washington to face the 2-2 football team. Dominic, who you got?
The Saints apparently don't have a quarterback. They took out Jameis Winston, brought in Taysom Hill last week, so there's a competition going on there, which is never good. Their wide receivers suck right now. Alvin Kamara's not doing a whole lot. He's still one of the best running backs in the league. He just hasn't been able to get it going yet, and their defense is struggling a little bit, but other than that, they're doing great so far this year. Washington's defense has really been struggling as well, but I really like Taylor Heinicke. I think he's been doing very good. I like J.D. McKissick there as well as Terry McLaurin. I even like Antonio Gibson. Just because they're at home, and even though I am a Saints fan, I'm going to go against my team again, which always seems to cost me, but whatever. And I am going to say that Washington's going to win this game.
The Saints have been looking so like they started out so promising, and I was like, hey, look, the decision to move forward with Jameis as the starting QB was a great decision. This is going to work out for them in such a great and tremendous way, and somehow that fell flat on its face. They ended up having to bring in Taysom Hill. That only went so-so. The fact that Michael Thomas has still been out has really been detrimental to this team on a high level. Even Alvin Kamara's numbers have been off. The defense has been suspect. It's just been so confusing to watch this team. Meanwhile, Washington, it was not planned for Taylor Heinicke to be the starter already. I know at some point that was going to happen anyway, but Ryan Fitzpatrick getting hurt has given them the opportunity to bring Heinicke in, and we're seeing that he does have tremendous talent, and he has a great connection there with Terry McLaurin. And then we saw J.D. McKissick step up last week, and then we saw Antonio Gibson showing up. It's a good team on that offense. The defense now, on paper, this defense should be within the top, I'd say 5. On paper, that's where they should be. They are not. This team is a complete disappointment when it comes to defense. That is going to be their Achilles heel all season long. Regardless of how well the offense played, the defense is such a major disappointment. That's going to be what cost them games through the long haul of the season. But between these two, one team is doing much better on offense right now, while one is still having question marks on offense. Both defenses are not where they should be by this point in the season. If you have to take the The one that's doing a little bit better, that's Washington. So I'm going to take Washington at home. Next up, we got the 1-3 Philadelphia Eagles headed to Carolina to face the 3-1 Panthers. Dominic, who you got?
The Eagles are not a very good team. They may finish last in their division. It's not because of Jalen Hurts, though. He's actually been playing very good. He had a very good game last week in Dallas, despite the interception and them losing by 20 points. He had a solid game himself. I think he's going to continue to have a solid game as long as that rushing ability is there. But that's not going to extend out to the rest of the team. Nick Sirianni has no clue how to use a running game. That's why Miles Sanders has not been doing anything this year, and it's just tragic to see because he is talented, but they haven't been able to use him. Devontae Smith's been doing a little bit. Quez Watkins has actually been their best receiver so far, which is sad to say. And Zach Ertz actually made an appearance last week as well. That said, Carolina is just very, very good. I know they lost to Dallas last week. They're going to be without their secondary again this week. They'll have C.J. Henderson there, but they just traded for Stephon Gilmore today. He will not be able to be there because he was traded. He has to remain on the PUP list through week 6, so he's not going to be able to play for them this week, but they have him coming back, which is going to be good, adding to their one of their top-ranked defenses in the league right now. Sam Darnold's been playing out of this world. It's funny, he actually leads the entire NFL in rushing touchdowns this year, and he's a quarterback, so if he can do that, plus he has DJ Moore there, if Robbie Anderson can get something going, and there's even a chance that Christian McCaffrey might be back. If not, I think Chuba Hubbard's good enough for this week, and I do think that the Panthers are going to beat the Eagles at home.
Eagles, again, it's hard to watch poor Jalen Hurts struggle there, considering that he is a good QB surrounded by a horrendous O-line and not consistent receivers. And I don't know what the hell's going on with the running game right now. Do they have one? Do they have running backs? The way they're playing is just baffling as hell to me, considering the type of skills they have in Jalen Hurts. I'm just shocked to see that they haven't got all the pieces together and are flowing in the right direction right now. They're headed to Carolina. Yes, Carolina got beat by the Cowboys. I understand that kind of made people feel some kind of way, but understand, Sam Darnold is playing out his mind right now. As Dominic said, he has the most rushing touchdowns of any player in the league, and that includes running backs. That's amazing to me. To see the way he is playing there this year, considering where he came from previously, and to see the connection he has, 1 week is Robbie Anderson, another week is DJ Moore. It's just so good to see. Christian McCaffrey, if he plays, expect big things. But hell, Chuba Hubbard looked good last week. This team is good. I like what I see out of them. They're there at home. Philly is just so horrendous. I definitely got to get this game to Carolina. Next up, we got the 2-2 Tennessee Titans headed to Jacksonville, good Lord, to face the 0-4 Jaguars. Dominic, who you got?
Yeah, I really think Tennessee's record is actually better than what they are. They should have lost to Seattle. They took that game to overtime and only won because Derrick Henry had 240 all-purpose yards. They obviously lost last week against the Jets. That was just a good spot for them to lose. I don't think they're going to lose this week because Jacksonville is just bad, and Tennessee's at least half decent. Neither of these defenses are very good, but the offense of Tennessee is much better, especially if they get A.J. Brown back and Julio Jones back, which I think they're going to. So I'm going to take the dominant offense over the lap dancers.
Goodness gracious. Tennessee, hopefully they're going to have A.J. Brown and Julio Jones back. That'll help them significantly. Derrick Henry is always going to be Derrick Henry. You see the way he trains in the offseason. The man is a monster. That's what makes him so hard to bring down. And that helps Ryan Tannehill in a big way. Their defense is still garbage. I don't know why they continue to move forward the way they do every year with that defense as trash as it is. They've made no improvements on it this year. They're not playing any better this season. They're going against Jacksonville. I'll say this. I saw some of why Trevor Lawrence was highly touted last week. I finally saw, okay, this kid really does have some potential. And in the future, if they stick with this, Trevor Lawrence can bring something to the table for the Jaguars. However, saying that, considering the coaching situation, which we will not get into, considering how horrendous this defense is, this poor kid has no shot of getting a bunch of wins wins this season. I predicted 2-15 or 3-14. They're not going to go winless, but they're definitely not getting more now than 2 wins. I'll say that. This will not be that game. They're definitely going to lose. I'm going to give this game to the Titans.
Before Urban Meyer goes out next time, he needs to take an old quote, what would Jesus do? He needs to think, what would Tim Tebow do?
Exactly. Next up, we got the 1-3 New England Patriots headed to Houston to face the 1-3 Texans. Dominic, who you got?
Last time they played down in Houston, the Patriots were like a 13-point favorite and they actually lost this game. They're not going to be 13-point favorites, and they shouldn't be over anybody right now. And I don't think they're going to lose this game either. Davis Mills is not good at being a quarterback. It's kind of hard when you have nobody there to throw to. I know he has Brandon Cooks there, but nobody else. They have a litany of running backs who would have been great in 2015, but now they're a little long in the tooth. It's just very tough. They have one of the worst defenses in the league. If one thing's for the Patriots, they still have a decent defense. Even last week against Tampa Bay, which is a much better team than Houston, Mac Jones was able to put up over 300 yards. I think he's going to be able to use Jacoby Myers again. They're going to be able to get something going with the running game, and I think Mac Jones is actually going to have a decent game here. I think they're going to be able to go down to Houston, and they're going to beat the Texans probably by a touchdown.
Man, the Houston Texans are so bad. It is painful to watch this team every week. They're only 1-3 because the team they beat in week 1 was the Jaguars. Beyond that, they are a trash team. They are so horrific and horrendous to watch. The defense is trash. Davis Mills, oh my goodness. Child, what are you doing? Who are you throwing to? He doesn't have any receivers. Got Brandon Cooks. And his running game is non-existent right now. I mean, if you count 3-4 yards at the most as a running game, I guess, fine. They're going against New England. We saw last week that this team is able to go toe-to-toe with one of the legendary QBs in the league. And I like seeing that out of Mac Jones. This kid has it. And I definitely like what I saw out of them last week. His connection with Jacoby Myers there. This is absolutely going to the Patriots. It's no shot whatsoever. I don't know what the Texans are going to do, but they got to figure something out. I know they'll probably get another win the next time they face the Jaguars, but it will not be this week against the Patriots. Got to take New England in this one. Next up, we got the 2-2 Chicago Bears headed to Vegas to face the 3-1 Raiders. Dominic, who you got?
The Raiders look like a completely different team on Monday that they did the first 3 games of the year. They didn't look like they knew what they were doing. Josh Jacobs was back and had a little bit of good play, but not a whole lot. With that said, I don't know what to expect out of the Chicago team going in there. We do know that Justin Fields is going to be the quarterback now. He's going to be the quarterback for the rest of the year as long as he's healthy. I don't know how good that's going to be considering that David Montgomery is now out for probably a month or so with a hyperextended knee. So he's really going to have to count on Allen Robinson, who has done nothing so far this year. It's going to be very tough. For some reason, the Raiders, even though everybody thought it would just be some local fancy that nobody would go to being out there, they do have a very good home field advantage. They have a very nice stadium. Derek Carr leads the league in pass yards right now. I think he's going to light them up again here against the Chicago defense, and I do think the Raiders are going to be able to pull this one out.
Listen, this game, I like seeing the Raiders play this season. I do. As much as I hate to admit that, they're a good team to watch. I don't know what happened in the offseason, but something happened, and Derek Carr is playing out of his mind. Darren Waller is always going to be Darren Waller. So good to see the way that he's playing there, and my goodness, I always love Josh Jacobs. That's like probably one of my favorite running backs in the league is Josh Jacobs. I wish he played for the Broncos, but beggars can't be choosers. Chicago, meanwhile, they did decide to go ahead and make Justin Fields the starter for the rest of the season, but their defense is not what we expected them to be. They are not what they should be considering the players that they have there. They should be playing much better on that defense. And I'm not seeing that at all this year. I'm so disappointed in the way that defense is playing because I knew that there was going to be some struggles on the offense simply because if they made the decision, no matter what QB they went with, I was always hoping it would be Justin Fields. It's a rookie QB. You're going to have struggles. That was expected. Bringing in Dalton and Foles or whatever, they weren't the future. I'm glad they made this decision. Let the kid get out there and struggle. They're going to struggle. They're absolutely going to struggle because they don't have a good defense. They're facing the Raiders. Raiders have a great offense, and they're going to beat up on this Bears defense. Definitely got to give this game to the Raiders. Next up, we got the 3-1 Cleveland Browns headed to Los Angeles to face the 3-1 Chargers. Dominic, who you got?
Yeah, this might be the most exciting game of the weekend. Two very, very good teams. I love Justin Herbert. He might be my favorite quarterback in the league right now. Keenan Allen's great. Mike Williams is actually doing stuff this year. And Austin Eckler looked awesome on Monday night. On the other side of the ball, we have Cleveland, who didn't play that well against Minnesota, but they still got the win. You know, they still have Nick Chubb and Kareem Hunt, who are both doing great things there. Odell Beckham is at least solid since he's come back, and Baker Mayfield's actually doing decent things. Their defense still isn't great, but it's coalescing over time. They're getting better. Myles Garrett should win the Defensive Player of the Year right now if it were to be voted for today. So with that said, it's going to be a very tough game. I would love to pick a tie here because I like both of these teams. But I'm going to have to give it just slightly to the Chargers because they're playing at home, even though they're might be even more Cleveland Browns fans there than there are Chargers fans.
Guys, this is going to be such a good game. I'm so excited and so looking forward to this game because of how well the Chargers have been playing. Did you see the way they played against Vegas? Oh, my goodness gracious. I like this kid, Justin Herbert. I don't know what I was expecting him to be when he entered the league. I'm so glad that he blew me away, and I'm so glad he's showing that it wasn't a fluke, that he really is that good. He's that dude there in love for the Chargers, and that's so good to see. This chemistry that he has with Mike Williams and Keenan Allen is phenomenal. I like seeing Mike Williams finally starting to produce the way that we knew that he could. Austin Eckler in that backfield, always good to have. If you guys, if you can ever pick this man up in fantasy, do it. Just take my word for it. He's going to produce numbers for you every week. And I like that about him. Browns, meanwhile, they have some struggles. That's always going to be the case with them because Baker sometimes gets a little flustered. That's fine. But the backfield that they have there in Nick Chubb and Kareem Hunt is one of the best in the league. As far as running back by committee, they're probably one of the most solid in the entire league. I like these two kids together there. I like what both of them can do. They kind of ping pong off of each other, which is great. Odell's finally back. He's had some pretty good numbers there. And then you got the tight end Austin Hooper that you can always fall back on when you need a dump down or whatever. Man, this game is going to be so good. This is going to be such a good game. I'm going to lean the other way, though, and I'm going to say Browns are going to pull it out at their SoFi. I don't know why I got a feeling, but I got a gut instinct that this is going to be a week that Cleveland does something fancy against a team that has a very, very solid defense, by the way. So, yeah, I'm going to give this one to the Browns. Next up, we got the 1-3 New York Giants headed to Dallas to face the 3-1 Cowboys. Dominic, who you got?
Yeah, the Giants got their first win last week. Obviously, Daniel Jones threw for over 400 yards. Saquon Barkley had a touchdown, which is good. Daniel Jones lights it up on the road. He sucks at home, but he lights it up on the road for some reason. Maybe he just doesn't like the spotlight of being at home. But Dak Prescott lights it up everywhere, and he's been having an almost MVP-type season this year. He's really in command of that offense. It's really shown in what he's been doing with Ezekiel Elliott having a resurgent year as well. CeeDee Lamb hasn't really gotten involved yet, but if he's able to get involved, which he might be able to this week against the Giants, things could really start up for this talented Dallas offense. Their defense is terrible, but it's better than it was last year. Even just an average defense with this offense is very good. Micah Parsons moving from linebacker to defensive end because of injury. They thought that'd be a struggle, and it's not. He's calling out all the shifts. He's taking over that defense, and it's just great to see. Led them to be able to release Jalen Smith. I really like this Dallas team this week. I don't like them because I don't like the team, but I like them this week, and I do think they're going to be able to roll over the Giants.
Again, it was good to see Giants finally get a win. It was good to see Saquon get a touchdown there. Because we're starting to be concerned that something wasn't fully right with him yet. But to see him finally score, he's looking good there. I wish I could say more positive things about this offense, but I can't. And their defense, I don't like at all. Not impressed by them and the numbers that they're doing. Danny Dimes can have his moments of being phenomenal. He had a pretty good game last week, and he has good receivers there. But they're going against the Cowboys, who is probably the best team in that sorry division by far. I mean, it's a very easy division to lead because the division is trash. And the way Dak has looked, the way Zeke has looked, it's very obvious Zeke needed Dak to be back. That was what was hurting his numbers last year, and we're seeing that in his resurgence with the return of Dak. So that very much says that those two play very well off of each other. Again, I'm like you. I wish I could see more out of CeeDee Lamb. Hopefully that'll happen. Their defense is pretty good. Definitely good enough to get a win over the Giants. So I got to give it to the Cowboys, especially because they're there at home. Next up, we got the 2-2 49ers headed to Arizona to face the 4-0 Cardinals. Dominic, who you got?
Yeah, it's still early in the year, so Arizona's not going to flop yet. That comes later in the year. San Francisco, I think they're overrated. Yes, they're 2-2. I don't even know if they're that good. We have no clue who's going to be their running back. It's likely going to be Trey Sermon or Eli Mitchell, but they've been having injuries everywhere. Jimmy Garoppolo, first they were saying he's going to be out 2 to 3 weeks. Now they're saying they're not going to rule him out yet. But most likely Trey Lance is going to get more play, if not all of it, if Garoppolo is injured. Deebo Samuel did great. He had a nice 76-yard touchdown pass from Trey Lance last week. But when you go against Arizona, you have to be able to keep up and score, and I don't think San Francisco can do that. I know everybody was loving their defense coming into this year, but they've been up a lot of pass interference penalties. When you throw the ball as much as Arizona does, they're going to exploit that pass defense, whether it be Hopkins, whether it be A.J. Green, who got a touchdown last week, or whether it be Chase Edmonds, who's actually the leading receiver on the Arizona Cardinals team. One of these guys, maybe all three of them, are going to get into the end zone, and I think that they are going to roll over San Francisco in this game.
Arizona is probably the most shocking undefeated team. What they shouldn't be, just because of the way. Listen, Kyler and Nuke is probably let me take that back. Kyler and Nuke are the best duo in the league, right, this season, bar none, or whatever. Their run game has been pretty solid. I've been seeing more out of James Conner than I have out of Chase Edmonds, but that's fine because it's worked out well for them. Their defenses look pretty good. It has looked a little more solid this season, and definitely more than it was last season. 49ers, they need to make up their mind. Jimmy G if he plays, he's going to be playing hurt. So just go ahead and stick with Trey Lance, but who knows what Shanahan's going to do there. And it makes me feel like having a gimpy Jimmy G there is going to be such an issue if they decide to even start. Even if he doesn't finish the game, going with him to even start is ridiculous to me. The run game is suspect. The defense is a disappointment. They're not horrible. They're just not what they, again, it's another one of these defense that there was very high expectations and none of that has panned out as of yet. I know that Arizona is going to catch an L for sure. I don't see it being this week. I'm like you, Dominic, I got to take the Cardinals in this game. Next up, we got the 3-1 Buffalo Bills headed to Kansas City to face the 2-2 Chiefs. Dominic, who you got?
Yeah, it's going to be a tough one. You talk all the time, and everybody talks about how tough it is to play in Kansas City. Yeah, this is going to be a night game in Kansas City, so that's even going to be worse because it's going to be the only game on TV. We saw the Chiefs finally come back and win a game last week. It was against the sorry Eagles, though. The Bills are a whole different beast. They laid an egg in week 1 against Pittsburgh, but since then they've been dominating everybody, including a shutout 33-0 last week against Houston. And yes, it was Houston, but it's still another NFL team, and to be able to shut them out is great. Josh Allen is another one of these quarterbacks playing at an MVP level. Stephon Diggs hasn't gotten things going yet, but that offensive line is very good, and the defense has been playing out of this world as well. We already saw the Baltimore Ravens get a win over Kansas City this year after not being able to do it. Buffalo hasn't been able to do it lately either. They weren't able to do it last year. I do think they are going to be able to do it this year. It's a little shocking, but I am going to pick against Patrick Mahomes, and I'm going to say that the Buffalo Bills go into Kansas City and get a win.
Whoa. Great pick, though, seriously. The Bills are playing out their rabbit-ass mind right now. Yes, they caught an L. That was expected. No team's going to go undefeated this season. It's just not going to happen. Their defense is super impressive. Their offense, Josh Allen, has a connection now with Emmanuel Sanders, which came out of nowhere, because we always expect him to go to Stephon Diggs. So for all of a sudden Emmanuel Sanders to be stepping up, which we expect, because you got to expect that Stephon Diggs is on the other side getting doubled up. But now to see Sanders step up, it's really good to see. I like this running game. Love their defense. They are headed to Arrowhead, though. And the Chiefs have got to keep pace with the rest of this division. And right now, they're not looking good. They are 500 at 2-2. They're playing in Arrowhead, though. They got Patrick Mahomes. This defense, they've got some great pieces on that defense. Clyde Edwards-Helaire is finally showing the potential that I was concerned about when he was struggling in the first couple of games of the season. He's now starting to show some of what it was that people were sold on last season. So I don't know. It's such a good game, but I'm going to lean the other way. I think the Chiefs are not going to let themselves fall. 3 games, 2-3 games behind in that damn division. Definitely giving this one to the Chiefs. And moving on to our Monday night matchup, we got the 1-3 Indianapolis Colts headed to Baltimore to face the 3-1 Ravens. Dominick, who you got?
Yeah, as excited as I was about that Chargers game, I'm that unexcited about this one. This is going to be probably the most boring game of the weekend. Carson Wentz hasn't been able to do anything this year, which means they're going to keep relying on Jonathan Allen running the ball. We already know the Ravens are going to run the ball as much as possible with Lamar Jackson. Last year, this game turned out to be pretty good with J.K. Dobbins having to break out. He's not there this year. They had Gus Edwards had a good game. He's not there this year. So it's going to be extremely tough on both of these teams. They're both going to run the ball probably 50 times or more each in this game. It's going to be probably very low scoring and extremely boring. But I think that the team that can actually run the ball better is going to win, and that's going to be the Baltimore Ravens.
The Colts are just a terrible team. They just are. They just can't get it going. I just don't have a lot of high expectations. Listen, that's another one where the whole division is just garbage. And it's going to be whoever the best of the trash heap that is that division. And I don't know who that is going to be anymore. I actually predicted that it would be between the Colts and the Titans. It doesn't look that way anymore. Low expectations there. Not impressed by what the defense is doing there. Not impressed when Carson Wentz is in the back. And I expected more of a connection with Michael Pittman. I feel like everyone's holding their breath, waiting for T.Y. Hilton to come back, and therefore and then that's when everything's going to take off for them. Or maybe that's just me. I have better expectations when it gets T.Y. Hilton playing. I'm hoping that happens in the next few weeks. Until then, I do not have any good expectations for this team whatsoever. They are headed to Baltimore to face the 3-1 Ravens, and the Ravens look great right now. Lamar Jackson faced his biggest challenge, and that was facing the Chiefs, and he beat the Chiefs. So he's showing that he's capable of beating and slaying some of the biggest dragons in the league, and that's phenomenal to see. Finally, I saw Hollywood make up for the poor game that he had the previous week. He looked good last week. For me personally, it's not even going to be close. It's another one of these games. It's not going to be close or interesting. If you have to watch it like I do, watch it. Otherwise, don't, because it's going to be nothing good to see. Definitely giving this one to the Ravens. Well, you guys, that's all of our matchups. Dominic, give me one start and one sit in fantasy.
Yeah, for a start, I'm going to go back down to Carolina and say start, Jalen Hurts. I know some people love him, some people don't love him. I think this week it's going to be very good. The Carolina defense is very good, which means it's going to rely a lot on Jalen Hurts to get out of the pocket. He's probably going to have a lot of rushing yards in this game. He'll be able to find Devontae Smith and Quez Watkins for a few large plays, but not many. But I think that his rushing ability is really going to help him this week against this stacked Carolina defense. For somebody to sit, I'm going to say sit Chris Carson, whether he plays or not. He's a game-time decision. He has a neck injury. I have a feeling that if he does play, it's only going to be for a couple of series, and the way he runs, he may get injured, and they may pull him out. And I don't know why. I just don't have a feeling that he's going to last the entire game this week, especially against Aaron Donald and that defense. So if you have a better option, I would certainly sit Chris Carson. If you do have to play him, make sure he's in as a running back, though, and not in your flex position, because it is a Thursday night game, and you're going to want to have to, if he does miss time and you had to have him in your lineup, you're going to want to be able to put somebody with more upside in your flex position on Sunday.
There you go. Well, you guys, that's all the time that we have today. Want to thank everybody again for listening. Be sure to follow me on Twitter at TheNFLGirl320. Dominic, where can they follow you?
You can follow me on Twitter at EnvisionFF.
You can read more of my work at SheKnowsProFootball.com. Dominic, where can they read your work?
You can read my work at The Athletic, at ExpandTheBoxScore.com, and at Rotorballer.com.
That's all the time we have, you guys. See you back here next week.